Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here, and welcome back to the next episode in the Sword and Sorcery Saga series. And welcome to the last video of 2021. And we are going to close out the year with a look at Phyllis and Karr's Frostflower and Thorn. And next to it is the sequel, Frostflower and Windborn, but I have not read that. But I am going to, and we will probably talk about this volume in 2022. But Frostflower and Thorn is a very interesting book, one that I highly recommend, even though it does have some issues. So let's take a look here and see what the back of the book says. Swords, Woman, and Sorceress. The sorceress Frostflower could bring a babe from seed to term in the course of a winter's afternoon. The swordswoman Thorn could strew a field of corpses in a moment's battle rage. Outcasts, both of them, hunted by the farmer priests who ruled the wasteland that once had been a world. Then Thorn in her folly got pregnant. Flower in her folly wanted the child, and together, foolishly, they set out to survive. Okay, so this book was published in, I believe, 1980. It has a cover by an artist named Enric. And I do really like this cover. It is so evocative of the time in which the book was published, at that kind of late 70s, early 80s, Linda Carter, Dynasty Dallas type look to the heroes there. So this book is all about a swordswoman named Thorn and a sorceress named Frostflower. And it is one of the strongest works of, I think, feminist science, or not science fiction, but sword and sorcery that I have read, and I really appreciated it for that. This is the first book by a woman author that we are taking a look at on this series. And one of the things that I appreciate most about this book is that it's not just a lazy gender swap. This isn't just a female version of Conan. And conversely, if you were to change either or both of these characters into a male character, the story would not work. There wouldn't be a plot at all. The plot is laser focused on these two characters and the decisions that they make. Nothing is taken away from the agency. The agency is never stripped away from these characters in the sense of how the plot revolves around their choices and the things that happen to them because they are women. Now, I do want to give a really quick trigger warning for this because this book can be very brutal, especially in the instance of a rape that occurs in the book. But rest assured, the rape is not there to be tantalizing or to be sexual in any way. It is purely used as a way to show how the patriarchy keeps these women down, even though they are the very source of the power that allows the patriarchy to exist. In this book, there are layers of social and political systems that are so intertwined that it's very hard to discuss. But let's talk a little bit about what the book is about. So we have Thorn, and Thorn is an incredibly entertaining character. She's one of the surliest, just most brutal and blunt characters I've read in the genre. I loved her so much. And the book begins with her in bed with some random dude, and she wakes up because she has morning sickness and she needs to throw up. And she's super pissed that she has morning sickness. She's also super pissed that this dude is still in bed with her. And she's like, get up, get out. I'm done with you. I had my fun with you. I'm pregnant. I need to find somebody to give me an abortion. And the dude's like, well, it's not my kid. And she goes like, I know it's not your kid. I don't know whose kid this is. All of the sword-wielding mercenaries in this book are women, and they band together in mercenary groups, and they hire themselves out to these farmer priests who are like the land barons and the rulers of this world. And they use the women to protect their land and to protect their power. And of course, being a mercenary, she cannot have a kid because it would ruin her station, would ruin her life. She would no longer be able to be a mercenary. She would have to be a domesticated woman, and she does not want that. So she's out trying to look for somebody to give her an abortion. She runs into this sorceress, Frostflower, who she wants a child. However, in the world of this book, the power of the sorcery is tied into their virginity, and that takes a major focus of this book. And she wants a child, but she cannot have one. But one of the powers that the sorcery have in this book is the ability to accelerate growth. They can take a single seed and grow it into a flowering tree or plant, a fruiting tree or flowering plant in a matter of minutes. And she convinces Thorn to allow her to ensorcel her pregnancy, and Thorn gives birth to the baby in a matter of hours. And that choice that these two women make creates a ripple effect in the systems in which they live that kicks off this plot where they are having to run from the farmer priests. They are having to deal with men trying to destroy them. They are having to deal with protecting this baby, even though Thorn doesn't really want the baby. But she becomes a friend and a protector of Frostflower. Frostflower gets just brutalized, and it's quite sad the things that happen to Frostflower, but she comes out of it, I'm not going to say a stronger woman, because I'm not going to say that the brutal things that happen to her make her stronger. I feel like that's a little weird to say, but she's already a strong woman, and because she is a strong woman, she is able to withstand the bad things that happen to her. Now, a lot of times in these kinds of books, you have a hero's journey where you have the normal life of the hero, and they are ripped out of their normal life and thrust upon a path of a greater quest, maybe a greater conspiracy, a greater truth that they will discover in the plot of the book. Now, that does not happen in Frostflower and Thorn. It is a very small plot. It is very narrowly focused on these two characters and their decision to in the choice they make in dealing with the her offspring. And part of me really liked that, because we are never given a plot device where they are told what to do because of a prophecy or because of some greater conspiracy that is not involved in their lives, something that they have to discover, something that they have to quest for. All of the plot revolves around these two women. And that is really cool to see that in this kind of fantasy story. However, it also leads to some pacing issues, because at about 3/4 through the book, I was really hoping for something more to happen. The book has some trouble creating a narrative narrative momentum and narrative drive, because it is so laser focused on this one aspect of the plot. And in addition to that, and because of that, the entire plot takes place in a very small area. I would say probably like 10 to 15 mile radius. The characters never leave this area, and they kind of travel back and forth between different locations in that area. And sometimes it feels like they are just going from one place to another without a lot of interesting things seen along the way. And so I think that maybe the book is just a little bit too long for what its plot dictates. Additionally, I think some of the pacing issues have to do with how long the chapters are. Now, there are only 14 chapters in this book, and a few of them are like 5 to 8 pages. 3 of them are almost 60 pages long, and it's not a 60-page single point of view, single set piece. It is multiple points of view, multiple set pieces, multiple plot points within those chapters, and they just feel too long. You never have that kind of natural break where an author could say, okay, we're going to stop here and we're going to pick up a few hours later. We're going to pick up sometime later. It really starts to drag down the book, and that is the main problem with the book, is just its lack of narrative momentum. But everything else about the book I really enjoyed. I liked the writing. I liked the incredibly strong female characters. I liked that just the very fact that they were female and they were strong women was the focus point of the book. Again, you couldn't just perform a lazy gender swap with these two characters, make them men, and have the same story. You would have a completely different story, and one in which the world wouldn't even make sense because of the way that the land barons, the farmer priests, the way they control the world. They control both the agriculture and they control the religion. However, the source of the power in their religion actually comes from the female sorcery. And they think, the priests think, it comes from a divine source. And so there is this question throughout the novel. The question is do these farmer priests, do they actually believe in the mythology of the religion, or do they know the truth of the source of their power and what they do with that knowledge? How those competing systems of the way that the swordswomen and the sorcery, the religion and the farmer priests, all of those systems, those social systems and those political systems, how they were all just intertwined and tangled together, and how they impact and affect one another is a really interesting core. It forms the most interesting core concepts of this book, and that is why I enjoyed it so much, even though there are problems with the pacing. I'm really looking forward to reading Frostflower and Windborn. I think it's going to be a really interesting follow-up because of just the way that this book ends, and not really a twist, but there is a kind of a cool revelation at the end. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that informs the next book in the series. So yeah, Frostflower and Thorn by Phyllis and Karr, highly recommended, especially if you are looking for a sword and sorcery, a work of sword and sorcery that is laser focused on female characters with a strong sense of feminism and an exploration of how those two things work within a kind of a typical male-dominated setting. And it's very interesting, well-written, and quite entertaining. So, all right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.